When a woman seems consistently uninterested in intimacy or when she always has an excuse, the assumption most men make is that something is wrong with her, that she's lost interest, that she just doesn't have that drive anymore. And they either accept it quietly or bring it up in a way that creates more distance than it closes. Here's what's actually happening in most of those situations. She doesn't have a problem with intimacy. She has a problem with how intimacy is being approached. And those are two completely different conversations. For most women, the conditions that make intimacy feel genuinely desirable don't start 5 minutes before anything happens. They start hours earlier, in the way he spoke to her during the day, in whether she felt noticed or invisible, in whether her body feels like something he genuinely wants to experience or something he's trying to get access to. All of that sets the stage long before anyone is in the same room. 6 types of foreplay that most men skip entirely. Not because they're complicated, but because nobody ever explained that this is what foreplay actually is. If you're in a relationship where intimacy has started to feel like a negotiation rather than something you both actually want, this video is going to change the conversation. Let's get into it. 1. Emotional foreplay. It starts way before the bedroom, and the most common misconception men carry about foreplay is that it's something that happens right before intimacy. A few minutes of physical contact, a transition from one thing to the next. But for most women, the process that makes her genuinely open to intimacy starts hours earlier, sometimes from the moment she wakes up, and it has nothing to do with physical touch. Emotional foreplay is about making her feel desired, seen, and genuinely connected to him throughout the day. Not in a performative way. Not in the predictable way where she can tell something is being wanted from her because suddenly he's paying attention. But consistently, naturally, as a genuine expression of how he actually feels about her. This looks like flirting with her in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday. A comment about the way she looks when she walks past. A text in the afternoon that has nothing to do with logistics and everything to do with the fact that she crossed his mind. A moment where he stops what he's doing and actually looks at her in a way that communicates she's genuinely on his radar. What this does psychologically is significant. It builds a kind of warmth and openness in her throughout the day that makes the evening feel like a natural continuation of something rather than a sudden request. Her mind has already been gently moving in that direction. Her body follows more easily because her emotions got there first. The version that doesn't work is the man who ignores her all day and then becomes attentive the moment he wants something. Women feel that pattern immediately. It doesn't create desire. It creates resistance. Make it a habit, not a strategy. The difference is felt every time. 2. Slow, intentional kisses. Most men treat kissing like a doorway, something to move through quickly on the way to somewhere else. And women feel that energy immediately. The rushed quality of it, the sense that this is being checked off rather than genuinely experienced, communicates something about what's actually being prioritized. And what it communicates is that she's not the destination. She's the route. Slow, intentional kissing does the opposite. It says this moment, right here, is exactly where he wants to be. Not as a step towards something else, but as something worth staying in entirely on its own terms. What this actually looks like in practice is simpler than most men expect. It's not a technique, it's a pace and an intention. Kissing her slowly enough that she can feel he's present. Maintaining eye contact in the pauses between, the kind of eye contact that makes her feel genuinely looked at rather than looked past. Withdrawing slightly and then returning, which creates a small but powerful tension in the space between. Moving to other parts of her face, her jaw, her collarbone, and then coming back so that the kiss itself becomes something she's drawn toward rather than something happening to her. The pausing is particularly important, and most men skip it entirely. A deliberate pause, where he pulls back slightly, looks at her, maybe moves a strand of hair from her face, does something psychologically that continuous contact simply doesn't. It creates a beat of anticipation. Her nervous system registers the brief absence and immediately wants the return. That wanting is the beginning of genuine arousal, and it was created entirely through restraint rather than escalation. What slow, intentional kissing ultimately communicates is confidence. A man who isn't rushing knows what he's doing. He's not anxious about the outcome. He's genuinely present in the experience. And that quality, unhurried, deliberate, fully there, is one of the most attractive things a woman can feel from a man before anything else has even happened. 3. Full body touch. There's a pattern most women recognize immediately, and none of them find particularly appealing. The man who moves through physical contact like he has a specific destination in mind and everything between the start and that destination is just geography to cross as efficiently as possible. It communicates something she feels before she processes it consciously, that he's not really interested in her body, he's interested in one part of it. And that distinction, subtle as it sounds, changes the entire emotional quality of the experience for her. Full body touch is the antidote to that. And it's not complicated. It just requires a man to slow down enough to actually be present in what he's touching rather than focused on where he's headed next. The back is one of the most underutilized areas in this context. Running a hand slowly along the spine from the shoulders down to the lower back, not rushing, not applying pressure, just a light, deliberate trace, produces a physical response most men don't anticipate. The skin there is sensitive in a way that connects directly to her nervous system. It creates a kind of full body awareness that more obvious contact simply doesn't reach. The inner thighs carry a similar quality, not as a direct route somewhere else, but as a destination in themselves, touched slowly, deliberately, without immediately moving further. The deliberate avoidance of the obvious creates its own tension. Her body starts anticipating something that isn't coming yet, and that anticipation is doing more work than direct contact would at the same stage. The collarbone, the waist, the hips, these aren't filler between more important areas. They're part of an experience that, when attended to properly, makes her feel that he genuinely wants to be in contact with her entirely. Not just what she can give him, but every part of the person she is physically. That feeling of being desired completely rather than specifically is what full body touch creates. And it builds a comfort and connection that everything that follows is built on. 4. The neck, the ear, and what happens there. There are parts of a woman's body that most men walk right past without realizing what they're leaving behind. The neck and ears sit at the top of that list, and the men who understand what happens when these areas are attended to properly have a significant advantage over the ones who don't. The skin along the neck and behind the ears contains a concentration of nerve endings that connect directly to the body's arousal response. But beyond the purely physical, there's something psychological happening in this area that makes it particularly powerful during foreplay. It's intimate in a specific way, close, personal, requiring a level of trust and proximity that creates its own emotional charge before anything else has happened. Gentle kisses along the collarbone moving up toward the neck, slow, warm, deliberate, produce a physical response that travels through the entire body. Not because of the location specifically, but because of the combination of warmth, softness, and intentional attention being placed somewhere most people don't expect. The unexpectedness itself is part of what makes it effective. Her nervous system registers something that wasn't anticipated, and the response is immediate. The ears add another layer entirely. Soft breath close to the ear, gentle contact along the outer edge, the warmth of proximity. These sensations create a kind of full body awareness that more direct contact rarely produces at this stage. And when a man combines this with words spoken quietly in that same space, genuine, warm, specific words about her, the combination of physical sensation and emotional acknowledgement creates something that lands on an entirely different level. not rehearsed lines, not performance, just honest expression, telling her she smells incredible, that her skin is soft, that he's genuinely present with her in this moment, spoken close enough that she feels the warmth of the words as much as she hears them. That combination of sensation and genuine expression, delivered slowly and without rush, is the kind of thing women remember long after everything else about the evening has faded. 5. Teasing and anticipation. Everything that's been covered so far has been about building something. This section is about what happens when a man understands that the most powerful move at the height of that build is not to push forward, but to pause. Anticipation is one of the most underestimated forces in attraction. When everything happens too quickly, there are no peaks, just a flat line from start to finish that the body moves through without having time to fully register what's happening. But when tension is allowed to build, when the moment that seems imminent is deliberately delayed, the body's response to what eventually comes is completely different in quality and intensity. The mechanics of this are simpler than most men expect. He's kissing her slowly, she's fully present, the energy between them is building naturally, and then he pauses. Not coldly, not confusingly, just deliberately. He pulls back slightly. Maybe he looks at her. Maybe he gets up to get water. Maybe he just creates a beat of space where contact was a moment ago. And in that small gap, something happens that continuous contact could never produce. Her nervous system registers the absence of something it had just started to want. And that registration, that awareness of want, is the foundation of genuine arousal. She's not just responding to what's happening anymore. She's actively wanting what isn't happening yet. That wanting is more powerful than any specific physical action. What this also communicates about him is significant. A man who can pull back at the height of tension, who isn't frantically pushing toward the next thing, demonstrates a level of self possession and confidence that is felt immediately. He's not operating from urgency or need. He's operating from genuine presence and control. And that quality, experienced physically in this context, creates a response in her that goes well beyond the physical moment itself. The pause isn't absence. It's the most deliberate thing he's done yet. 6. Taking your time. Rushing is probably the single most common mistake men make in this entire area. And it's worth understanding what rushing actually communicates, because it says something she registers immediately, even if neither person puts it into words. A man who moves quickly through intimacy is communicating, whether he intends to or not, that the destination matters more than the journey. That what he's moving toward is more important than what's happening right now. And she feels that prioritization in real time, the sense that she's a means to an end rather than the point entirely. That feeling doesn't create openness. It creates distance, even in close proximity. Slowing down communicates the opposite. It says this moment, with her specifically, is exactly where he wants to be. That he's not thinking about what comes next or how quickly he can get there. That his mind is fully present in what's happening right now and not already somewhere else. Women are remarkably good at detecting when a man's attention is divided, when part of him is already past the moment he's physically in. And the experience of being with someone who is genuinely, completely present is rare enough that it creates its own profound impact. There's also a confidence dimension to this that most men don't consider. A man who takes his time is a man who isn't anxious about the outcome. He's not rushing because he's worried something will change if he doesn't move quickly enough. He's moving at his own pace because he's secure enough in the moment to stay in it fully. That security, unhurried, unforced, genuinely relaxed, is felt as confidence even when it's never announced as such. The biggest secret in all of this is that foreplay was never really about physical moves or specific techniques. It's about creating genuine connection, real anticipation, and emotional presence. When those three things are in the room, everything that follows becomes something worth remembering. That's what she's actually been hoping for. Foreplay was never really about technique. That's the honest truth underneath everything in this video. The men who get this right aren't working from a checklist or executing a sequence of moves in the right order. They're simply present, genuinely interested in the woman in front of them, genuinely invested in her experience, and unhurried enough to actually be in the moment rather than moving through it towards something else. That combination, presence, patience, and genuine desire, is what creates the conditions where intimacy becomes something she genuinely wants rather than something she's talked into. Start earlier than feels necessary. Slow down more than feels comfortable. Pay attention to more of her than feels obvious. And stay present long enough for something real to actually happen between two people. That's the whole secret. And it was never really a secret at all. Drop a comment below and tell me which one of these your man gets right and which one he needs to work on. I read every single one and I do reach out. If this opened your eyes to something important, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and if you're not subscribed yet, do it now. This is the channel that has real conversations about love and relationships, and there's a lot more coming.